Welcome for joining me today, beloved. I just want to take this opportunity to thank God for your life. I want to take this opportunity to say, God, thank you for bringing this person to listen to this message today. And I pray that the Holy Spirit will begin to minister to each and every one of you wherever you are, to the glory of his name. And this forms one of our 30-part series that we will be holding between the 3rd of January to the middle of February. And the theme for this discussion and teaching and prayer is restructuring, repositioning, realigning according to the will of God for our life. A lot of us have veered off course. A lot of us are following a particular pattern and sequence in our life that is not the sequence and pattern that God ordained for us. A lot of us are following and pursuing dreams that wasn't God's original intention for us. And so I'm hoping that in this month of January and February, you are going to go through scriptures, you are going to learn enough, and you will begin to realign, you will begin to restructure, you will begin to reposition yourself. For some of us, you will rebrand your business, you will reposition your business, you will restructure your business so that it can be at a point where it is becoming profitable, so that it can be at a point where you will begin to be successful in the name of Jesus. For some of us, we will be restructuring our businesses. Some of us will restructure our own personal life. Our lives have gone off course and you want to bring it back. It is never too late for you to come back to God. God's hands is never too far away to touch you. And so that is the essence of this teaching. Today, I want to talk about the fact that God always had a plan. Beloved, God always had a plan. He had a plan for you. He had a plan for me. He had a unique plan for each and every one of us. He had a unique plan for everything that he created in the universe. And for those of you that watch any of my videos, you know that Genesis chapter 1 is one of the scriptures that I really love because it goes back to the beginning of everything. So I want us to turn our Bibles to Genesis chapter 1, and I'm going to be reading because I want you to know that God had a plan. So Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, it says that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and the earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the earth. Verse 3, then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. And God called the light day and darkness night. And the evening passed and the morning came, marking the first day. Then God said, let there be space between the waters to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth. And that is what happened. And God made this space to separate the water of the earth from the waters of the heaven. God called the space sky. Then if you go with and the evening passed and the morning came, making it the second day. If you go with me to verse 9, then God said, let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place so dry ground may appear. And that is what happened. And God called the ground land and the water sea, and God saw that it was good. Beloved, take note of the fact that God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the land sprout with vegetation, every sort of seed-bearing plant and tree that grows seed-bearing fruits. These seeds will then produce the kind of plant and the trees from which they came. And that is what happened. Verse 12, the land produced vegetation, all sorts of seed-bearing plants and trees with seed-bearing fruits. Their seed produced plants and the trees of the same kind. And God again saw that this was good. Verse 13, and evening passed and the morning came, making it the third day. Then God said, let light appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them mark of the seasons of days and years. Let them light in the sky and shine down on the earth. And that is what happened. God made two great lights, the greater one to govern the day and the smaller one to govern the night. He also made the stars. Verse 17, God set these stars in the sky to light the earth, to govern the day and the night, and to separate the night from darkness. And God saw again that this was good. Verse 19, and the evening passed and the morning came, which marked the fourth day. Then God also said, let the waters swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds of every kind. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that scurries along the ground, and every sort of bird, each producing offspring and some kind. And God saw that this was good. Again, in the verse 22, then God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply. Let the fish fill the sea, and let the birds multiply in the earth. And evening was past, and the morning came, making it the fifth day. Then God said, let us produce every kind of animal, each producing offspring of the same kind, livestock, same, small animals scurry along the ground, and wild animals. And that is what happened. God made all sort of wild animals, livestock, and small animals, each able to produce offspring of the same kind. And God again saw that it was good. Beloved, I just want to halt here for a minute and begin to talk to you. So God enters the earth realm, and this earth was without form and void. It had absolutely nothing in it. It was lifeless. There was absolutely nothing. But God had a plan, because we see God come into the earth realm and God began to speak. God began to speak. God had a vision. God had a plan. God had a purpose. And he began to create. And everything that he created, God gave it an assignment. We see in the beginning, God begins to speak. The very first thing, the very first miracle that God does is He told the earth was without form and void, and the Spirit of God was hovering. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness, and he called the light day, and he called the darkness night. So the very first miracle that God did was let there be light. And we realized that when the light came, it had purpose, because the very earth that was without form and void, the very earth that was formless and full of darkness, when God creates light, which is the first miracle that he created, when his first plan was put into action, which was light, we realized that light began to shine, and then you could see. And then God saw that it was good, and God said that now that light has come, I am going to separate the darkness and from light. And God saw that it was indeed good. And then the first day passed. Then we see that the second day, God said, let there be space between the waters, to separate the waters of the heaven and the waters of the earth. God caused a separation. So God had a plan. The reason why God created that space, because he wanted to cause a separation. God had a plan. He had a plan in his mind. He had a plan in his spirit, and he had a plan in his mouth, and he began to speak that plan into place. And again, we see that he creates the sky and separates the waters of the heavens and separate the waters of the earth. We see God begin to create land. We see God begin to create various animals, various birds, various plants, wild animals, and all of them God gave them assignment, and all of them God saw that they were good. All of them were in the plan and in the vision of God. It did not take God 1,000 years to make these things happen. It didn't take God 10,000 years to make it happen. All of these were happening within a day, because he is a creator. He is a God. He has a master plan. He has a blueprint in his mind, and he is just speaking it out, and it is coming out. Beloved, now I want us to go to the critical point, because you have seen that in the beginning, things that may seem so irrelevant to you and I, things that when and cannot be classed as a human being, God took his time to create them. God gave them an assignment. God had a plan concerning them. God had a plan for day. He had a plan for night. He had a plan for the light. He had a plan for the sky. He had a plan for the sea. He had a plan for the birds, for the animals, every single thing. Fruit bearing crops, God had a plan and intention for them. And whenever God created them, we see God say that it is good. God is happy with his handiwork. God is happy. The reason God is happy with his handiwork is because these things are beginning to form the purpose for which God created them for. It was good, and they were manifesting the very thing for which they were created for. Because when he spoke light, light began to shine. Light began to disperse darkness. Light were illuminated and darkness had to give way, and God knew that it was good. So then God has done all of these things. This was God's master plan. And now let us go to Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. That is the crunch line for today, the punch line. That is where I want you to look at. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Then God said, let us make human beings in our image and in our likeness, that they will reign over the fish of the air, the birds of the sky, and every livestock that scurry along the ground. From small to big animals, the man is going to be in charge of them. And then we are told, so God created human beings in his own image and likeness. He created them both male and female. Beloved, you have seen from Genesis chapter 1 up until 25 that God has created everything and he has given assignment to each and everything. Then we see God in Genesis chapter 1 sitting with Jesus and the Holy Spirit and saying, now let us create man in our own image and in our own likeness. He didn't create the light in his image and likeness. He did not create the animals in his image and likeness. He didn't create the land on the earth or the sea in his image or likeness. But he comes to man and say, now let us create something in our own image and likeness, so that they can rule, so that they can govern, so that they can take over. Beloved, your purpose was already destined by God. God had an intention for every single thing. And do you think that God did not have an intention for you? Do you think that God did not have a purpose for you? Do you think that you were created by mistake? I want to speak over someone that has believed in the lie that you are a mistake, that has believed in the lie that you have no purpose, that has believed in the lie that you are useless, that has believed in the lie that nothing good can come out of me, that has believed in the lie that I should not be here. I've got nothing to bring to the conversation. I've got nothing to offer in this earth realm, because I've come to tell you that you were not created by accident. The animals were not created by accident. The light was not created by accident. The sky, the earth, the moon, everything was created by purpose, because we are told that God created the sun and the moon, and he says that the sun will be the greater light and it will give light in day, and the moon will be the lesser light and it will give light at night. We see God create the stars and he assigns them a purpose. Plants were meant to give fruit and food to us. It was meant to bear fruit for us. So if God gave each and every one of these assignment and purpose and had a plan for them, how much more you and I, who have been created in his image and in his likeness? And that is exactly what God did. Created us in his image and in his likeness. And when he created us, what did he create us to do? He created us to rule. He created us to govern. He created us to possess the very thing that he had created. And he created them both male and female. Not just male, not just female. He created them both male and female. Then God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth, govern it, reign over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and the animal that scurry along the ground. Then God said, look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant throughout the earth and all the fruit trees for your food. So we know that the purpose of all these plants was for food for man. So God gave them all. And God says that all these animals that I've given you, I have given you charge over it. You are meant to control it. You are meant to dominate it. You are meant to rule over it. And the small animals that scurry along the ground, everything that has life. And that is what happened. So God gave man an assignment and a purpose from day one. Are you performing your purpose? Are you performing your assignment? If you are not, then you have got to realign. So if you think that God never had a plan, I've just opened this all up for you to understand that God has a plan. When you get time, get your Bible and go to Genesis chapter 1 and read all of it. You have a purpose. God had a plan and a purpose for everything. And you are one of that plan. And you are one God of the purpose. God gave you a purpose. What is your purpose? Identify your purpose. You are not an accident. You are not a mistake. Beloved, I will leave it here for today. And I just want to pray over you that, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, let the eyes of my understanding be open. Let the ears of my understanding be open. Let my spiritual being be open, Lord. May I be receptive to what you were speaking in this season. May my mind begin to conceptualize what you were doing in this season. I pray in the mighty name of Jesus that as we come off air, the Holy Spirit will continue to minister to the mind and the spirit of your people. A lot of us are lost. A lot of us are on the wrong path because we do not understand you. We do not understand Genesis chapter 1. We could not and did not understand, or we have misunderstood the scripture. We have allowed the enemy to tell us lies. We have allowed the enemies to sow seeds, wrong seeds in our mind. We have believed doctrines that are not correct. But today, Lord, as you bring me into revelation, may my mind be open, may my heart be open, and may I be receptive to your word. May I have a deeper revelation and a deeper understanding of your word, because I know you were taking me somewhere. If you haven't already, invite someone to be a part of this broadcast. This is one of the biggest gifts that you can give someone, for the person to understand who they are, for the person to come back into the will of God, for the person to be able to restructure, reposition, realign. Because I have seen the devil knock people off their position because they don't understand their identity. They don't understand what God is doing. They don't know what God is saying. And the enemy is then confused them, so they are going down the wrong path. But I pray in the name of Jesus that you will bring someone, you will invite someone, you will teach someone, you will speak over someone, and let their eyes be open to what God is doing in Jesus' mighty name. God bless you and God keep you.
Thank you, Sister Nancy.
Thank you, Sister Nancy.
Thank you, Sister Trudy.
Thank you, Sister Trudy.
Thank you, Brother Darren.
Thank you, Brother Darrell.
Thank you, DP Global Ministries.
Thank you,
God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.